Continues the Medrash Rabbah on the first parak. Amar Rishua ben Bar Yochai. The Rashbi says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, the Rebbeinu Shalom told us, Atem bechisim bechia shel tiflus. You cried and complained and mourned and nothing. I will give you in time what to cry about. Where did they cry for nothing? The pasuk in Bamidbar, all the families were wailing and crying after the Meraglim came back and said, Hoitzah is diba on Eretz Yisrael. Lashon hara it's not. Lashon hara is only if it's true. If it's not entirely true, it's Hoitzah Shemra. The Hoitzah Shemra, Moitzah diba on Eretz Yisrael. They heard this, they all went home and cried and cried and cried. Vatisa kol ha'ida v'yitnu et koilem. You can hear the cries of one family connecting with the cries and sorrow of the next. V'heichen boch Yisrael v'chia shemamish. And then at what point did we cry? Have a reason to cry? Rav Eivu, Rav Yehuda, Rav Simon, each one give a different pirush. Rav Eivu Yomar Echad Berama Echad Bevavel. Once when Rachel Imenu also Barama her cry renders cry for Kal Yisrael B'schus bilvad of all the others in Imaz B'schus Rachel Imenu we were guaranteed that we will be Nigalim. Ve'echad Bevavel and one al Naharis Bavel. Rama, as the pasuk says, Kol Berama Nishma, and in Bavel as it says, Al Nahar is Bavel, we cried in the waters of Babylon. Yeshua ben Sima Omar, Echad b'Yehud Medinsa ve'echad b'Bavel, once in that land of Yehud Medinsa, the Jewish land, and once in Bavel. Yehud Medinsa ba'choitivke b'layla, we cried at night, Bavel, Al Nahar is Bavel, as the pasuk we were already brought. Amar Rav Eivu. Yes, we got into this mess because we cried for no reason. B'chiyah shel tiflus, as the Rashbi says. But says the Rebbeinu Shalom, when you cried on the Haris Bava, you cried out to me, you cried b'tshuva. Yes, I said it's too late, I'm not going to kabel the tshuva, it's over. The Gzeru him l'fonai. But Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael Rebbeinu Shalom told us, B'schar oisa b'chiyah nimachnis galuschem, with that b'chiyah, whether it be b'chiyah b'vavel, b'chiyah b'yehud medinsa, b'chiyah v'rach elemenu, b'schus that b'chiyah, I will ultimately bring you back into your galus. As this pasuk says, Koyoma Hashem, Mini kalechni bechi rachel imenu, stop crying. You don't need to cry anymore. It pains me to hear your cries. As the pasuk continues, V'shtikva la'achalisech nu'um Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom swears, there is hope, in the end of your days there will be hope. Continues the Medrash here in Perek Aleph Oischav Daled. The pasuk says, Bocho yitivke v'layla, you cried, and a double lashon for crying. Bochu alei gelechad, tivke al shnei agolim. You cried over one egel, the egel azav. The egel azav lo yavdav Yisrael, avodah zarah, the egel azav, egel hatum arayis b'faresyo. You wanted to do absolute immorality publicly with no holds barred. So you made it a religious thing. It's religiously permitted now, much as jihad is the religious permission to do what they do. That was the underlying reason why Klal Yisrael joined up with the Erev genius idea of making the Egel Azav, the golden calf, and serving it with absolute immorality in public. You cried about that one. You cried that you will no longer have these relations, so no longer have these pleasures. You're going to cry in the Shtei Agolim that you're not going to be able to make in the base of Mikdash, in the Karban. Davar Acher, what's the Bochai Tivcha? Crying about two things to be destroyed. Yehuda, Mamleches Yehuda that was lost. Val Tzion Yerushalayim, and on Israel itself, the land of Israel, and the city, the grounds, the territory of the city of Yerushalayim. Davar Acher, another way to understand the pasuk of the double lashon of Bochai Tivcha, of crying with the double lashon. Bocha al Golus Asaras Ashvatim Tivka al Golus Shevet Yehuda Binyamin. You cried up the Asaras Ashvatim when they were sent out into exile. You'll cry in the remaining two Shvatim that stayed in the land of Israel, Yehuda Binyamin. Cry and cause others to join in you in crying, which I must add is a message for us on Tisha B'av. Not only do you cause other Jews, other people to join in your cries over the Churban Bayis, the Rebbeinu Shalom himself joins us. This day was created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a day of mourning, because the Rebbeinu Shalom reacted to this day as would a king of flesh and blood when his kin is laying dead before him. The double lashon represents the Rebbeinu Shalom himself crying, and the Malachei Hashala is joining in and crying with him. Even the Erelim, those form of Malachim, cried outwardly. He says, Ksiv Chitza. Continues the Medrash, not only does the Rebbeinu Shalom we cry, the Rebbeinu Shalom join us. The Malachei Hashalas join in, but even the heavens and earth cry on the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash. As the pasuk says in Yoel, Shemesh v'yareach kadru, the sun and moon dimmed. So the Medrash, who else joins in the Bechi L'Deiros? Bocha Boiche Umevake Holim Gvoyisimo. The mountains and the valleys of Israel all cry on the demise of this land. Tichsiv, as the pasuk says in Yirmiyah, Reisias Aholim, etc. Bocha Boiche Mevake Shivim Umoisimo. To some extent, even the 70 nations that compromise the world, the Rebbeinu Shalom made 70. They want to count themselves a little bit differently. Have Gesundheit, have a blast. I don't care. The Rebbeinu Shalom made 70 base nations, 70 identities. Each one has a malach representing it in Shemayim. They too join in to some extent in the Bechia on the Churban Beis Hamikdash. They themselves did, and now they pay the price. Amarav Pinchas Oisal Shivim Parim Shal Yisrael Makrivim Bechag. The cumulative 70 cows that we would be makriv in the Beis Hamikdash in the holiday of Sukkot, Keneged Shivim Umois, attributed, each one corresponded to one of the 70 nations of the world. So that the world won't be caught up in them. We need them. Globalization existed even before mass shipping and industrial revolution, whatever else made it. Says the Medrash, what's the Bachai Tivke Balayla? Who else joins in this cry, in this Avelos? Knesset Yisrael, this entity, this spiritual entity, joins in and cries. Or the pasuk says in Bamidbar, Vatisa Kol Ha'eda v'chulei, v'chulnei Masnei Le B'Shem V'Nechemia Vatisa Ksiv Huvi Bishu Spizu Otaria K'Nono. Continues the Medrash, Chafei Balayla. Why at night? Why is this cry at night? As you can see, it's daylight now over here. Right? We're still sitting on the floor because before Chatzos, it's still day. Why at night? Why the cry? Oh, Dafka at night, says the Medrash, Nama Balayla. Why at night? If you want a sound to travel, it needs to be when the world is quiet. And the sounds are quiet, before the birds are chirping and the cars and trucks, and before that wagons are rolling on the street and making noise. The stillness of night. In the stillness of night, sound can travel farthest and best. That's why it says at night. Amar Raveinu Laila Moishechim Oikina says Raveinu, night in its essence draws forth weeping and eulogy. Says the Medrash to prove the point. The story about a specific woman, she lived in the neighborhood of Rabbi Gamliel. She had a single child, Umeis, and when he died, she would cry every night about her son who passed away. Gamliel heard her cries which traveled far. He heard it through the window when he was learning, he heard it. And it reminded him of the Bechiyah of Beis Hamikdash. Gamliel connected the cries of a woman over her son who died young to the tzar of cries of the Beis Hamikdash, and he used it as a spring to help him be mis'avel properly in the Beis Hamikdash every night. And he would join in and cried with her until his eyelashes fell from his face, from the extent how tears and the salt in them. And when the students of Gamliel took notice of such, they moved this woman to a different apartment out of Rabbi Gamliel's neighborhood, out of earshot. Continues the Medrash, her tears, the tears of Tzion, the tears of Israel are on her, a figuratively on her cheek, fallen and bearing witness to the cries that were before. Al what? Al kohaneho, and the kohanim that it lost going on. As the pasuk says, the lechi can be the cheek, it could be the hind, whatever, that part of the animal that is given as matnas kuhuna. But the kohanim, being from the most part no longer receiving the lechi of the behemoths as the matnas kuhuna, and that Eretz Yisrael was misavel. Davar achel al givureha, the lechayes and the giboyim, as the pasuk says, v'imse lechi chamol tiryo. Davar achel, another interpretation. What does it mean that the tears are drying on its cheeks? Al shoifteha, and its judges, as the pasuk says, v'shevet yaku al alechi. We see that the punishments which should be inflicted by judges are given on the cheek. And the teenagers, children for all said purposes, even if they don't like hearing it. When our enemies came into the Beis Hamikdash, they grabbed the teenagers, the young little kids, they bound their hands behind their backs, children as they may be, they were crying. And their tears fell on their cheeks, and it itched. And they couldn't wipe them off because their hands were tied behind their backs. And they burnt, and those tears burnt the skin on their cheeks. Continues the pasuk in Eicha, there's no one who can give solace to Eretz Yisrael and its avelus and Klal Yisrael, which is lost of it. Amr Levi called Malcolm Shnema en every place, ein lo menachem, any place in the pasuk you find that says ein, that it doesn't have havale. Eventually it will have. We find by Sarah bin Avati Sarah Kola ein lo volod. Sarah, that name was the point was her name was barren from children. She had was able to have conceived children, and she had no children. Ein lo volod v'havala, and had, as we find later on. Hashem polka that Sarah. Hashem made her the first to poika dakaros. She was the first case of poika dakaros that the Rebbeinu made a woman incapable of giving birth, physically capable. Or the Chavasen, we find it, Ulechana ein Yeladim, Chana had no children. Again, ein Yeladim, in the future, V'havalei, she had, as the Pasuk says, she Pokad Hashem as Chana, Chana will have children. And similarly, we find the Chavasot, Tzion hi, Doiresh ein lo, says Yirmiyah, not only are we in Golus, nobody cares, nobody is looking out, nobody is Zionist. Yes, true Zionism is found in Pasuk in Yirmiyah, and as a result of it, there's one mitzvah in the Torah of Zionism, and that is what Chazal were Kaveh, that outside of the Makom Beis Hamikdash, we will take Lulav and Esrog for 7 days, even though the Torah only required us to take the Lulav and Esrog on the first day of Sukkot alone, everywhere else in the world. But as an act of Zionism, as an act of Drishas Tzion, Chazal enacted we take Lulav and Esrog every day. Someone who doesn't take Lulav and Esrog all week cannot fairly call himself a Zionist, because the only mitzvah, midrabanan, we have of Zionism is in this. Tzioni Doiresheina, nobody cared, nobody wanted to be in Eretz Yisrael. If it says Ein Lo, says the Medrash Mikan V'Havaloi, will have, as the Pasuk says in Yeshayahu, V'Adatzion Goyel, our Savior will come to Israel. So how do you say Ein La Menachem? If you say Ein La Menachem, then no one's there to be Menachem Tzion, Menachem, the land of Israel itself, and that Klal Yisrael is not there. Havalo. From that we know that it will have Shenemar Anoichi Anoichi Hu Menachemchem. The Rebbeinu Shalom in Yeshaya told Yeshaya, I will give solace to Israel. I will give solace to the land itself. Continues the Medrash. Kol Re'eha Bogdu Bo. All of the friends turned against us. We had treaties, peace treaties, war treaties. We were well connected. We weren't just a single nation. And all the people signed peace treaties, so turned to kill us. This man, Churban Beis Hamikdash. Amar Rav Yaakov the Chanan, Zemichol v'Gavriel, not only the nations, but even the very two malachim that represent us in Shamayim, time after time again. Of the 70 nations have their malachim, we got Michal, we have Gavriel. They also turned against us. Says the pasuk, Golsa Yehuda, the nation of Yehuda, the Shevet of Yehuda, was sent into exile. Wait a second, Golsa Yehuda, says the Medrash, Akum Einum Goylim. We don't see nations of the world are Goylim. Look at Syria, look at Ukraine. They were Nigla Me'altzim when war struck. El Afal Pisha Goylim Ein Galusam Galus, says the Medrash, when the nations of the world are in Galus, it's not a true Galus. You can eat whatever you want. They serve you in the refugee camps. It's all good. There's no hilchos kashrus. You can drink the wine. There's no yain nesach. So their golus is not a golus. You can enjoy the meals. You can go and party together with the locals. But us, Yidden, you can't join their party. You can't eat their food. You have to sit in the corner like this, eating the meal you brought with you, if you're at all allowed to be there. We can't join. We can't assimilate into the local culture. We can't eat their cheeses. For these very reasons that we can't join their culture. We can't eat the bread as kosher as it might be, even if someone's mafresh challah. You can't eat the bread because a guy baked it as pas palto, or the bread of a goyish baker is another story. But a goy himself baked loaves of bread, it is not kosher no matter what's inside of the thing. It is not kosher. The kelim don't need tefillah because they're owned by a goy. He brought brand new ones that have no blias, baked in a brand new oven or fire pit of some sort that has no blias. There's nothing not kosher in it. The very fact he made it, Chazal made it also to eat, so that you won't come to the point where we can eat supper with them. We'll get too close to them. We'll start marrying our kids, intermarry our kids with them. Same thing with the wines and we started doing the cheeses, also wines. We can't get to the point of eating and dining with them, to the point that we'll get so close and intermarry with them. In that vein, our golus is real. We will forever be the foreigner among them. The goyim would dress as the locals, as the expression goes, and well intended and very fitting here. When in Rome. We, when in Rome, still dress as a Jew. So we don't have what to wear. We won't wear the footwear. So we won't have what to wear. Okay, today the footwear is pretty well, for the most part. You can get away very easily in the same store, but back then it was very distinct, the non-Jewish footwear. So we had nothing go. We went barefoot. So our Golus was real. L'chach nema Golus Yehuda. That's the intention. That's what the pasuk meant. The Golus Yehuda. Kanu oimer Golus Yehuda la'olanu oimer vayogel Yehuda me'al admasai. Why does it use two different lashonos here? It says Golus Yehuda. There it says Yehuda was nigla me'al admasai. In a different wording, it said the same point. Elekivin shagolu toshas koichan kenekeva. As great the prowess and strength as we had after we were nigla, we were weakened, as is the correlation between the strength of a man to the strength of a woman. That's why it says Golus Yehuda. It says the pasuk Golus Yehuda from what? Me'oini. Out of poverty, we're nigla. Al sha'achlu chometz b'Pesach. On Pesach, they ate chometz. Eating kazayis chometz on Pesach is a chiyuv kares, and they ate chometz on Pesach. What's Jewish left? What's left of the Judaism? As the pasuk says, like toichal olav chometz shiva yom toichal olav matzas lechem oini. You didn't eat the lechem oini, so Golus Yehuda me'oini. You didn't eat the poor man's bread. You'll be nigla. You'll be in golus in your poverty. Davar achem me'oini. Why were we kicked out and why was our golus were nigla in poverty? The Shah of Iran was nigla, but he took a lot of money with him. Other dictators were nigla from their countries. They took their funds with them. They took the keys to the Swiss bank accounts with them also. There might be an exile, but they're doing pretty darn well. Why? It says not only did we demand poor people to give us collateral, but we even damaged it when it was in our possession. According to Amar of the Ish Onihu Loitishkov Va'avoisoi, we damaged it, we didn't even give it back when he needed it, as we're required to do by Torah law. Why was our golus have to be b'tochanius al she'oshku schar sochir? We didn't pay people's salaries in time. You have to if you made up with him for a different time period. So, and that period you have to pay him on time though. But we didn't pay them. But they're poor. They don't have what to get by with until they get paid in delay. We didn't care. Why we nigel me'oini al shegazlu matnois anim? There's things that we have to give the oni lagel tazay voisam. We have leket, shichach, pay in the field, the corner of the field, the things that fell, the single bushels that you forgot, you have to give them to the anim. We didn't give them. When you take mafres meisters, trumo meisters, so there's every second and third year, the second, third year, and the second, third year, and the fifth and sixth year of Shemitah is meiserani. We didn't give meiserani. Rav Bibi v'Rav Huna b'Shem Rav said in the name of Rav, ha'oichel tevel shemeiserani chayiv misa, person who eats meiserani and is not allowed to eat it because of his financial status, is liable to the death penalty. Davar Eicha says the Medrash, why was our golus have to be with such poverty? Yes, as Jews we are over the avodah zarah, as it says, Kol anois anishamea. Omer Rav Eicha, Kol kilus akuv anishamea. Because of that initial night of the Chet Ha'egel, where the kol anois, the kol kilos akim, we were praising and serving the golden calf. On that Chet, that Avera came up for us and regurgitated itself yet again, Bisman l'churban bias, and yet again for that alone we would have been liable that our goal should be in